Rotarians. If you'll note, it's 12:05, and I never do that. Do you know why I did it? Because you all were enjoying talking to each other so much, and there was such great energy in the room. We have a fantastic speaker today. It's our subject matter speaker. And we have guests. We have our district governor and our district governor-elect visiting with us today. So thank you so much for being here. This is, of course, the October 10th meeting of our Rotary Club. I am Lori Flannery. I'm the president and CEO of New Directions. I am this year's club president, and Paul Harris Fellow. So welcome. Providing our invocation today is Kurt Jacobs, creator and host of Moxie Talk with Kurt Jacobs.
After I give this, I'm parked in handicap, so I'm going to be flying out of here. Coming from the East End was not easy. Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of Rotary Club of Louisville, honored guests, mindful today's invocation may hold a special meaning for those you love, those you know, or possibly property you own that has been impacted by either or both hurricanes, Helene and Milton, over the last several weeks. Know that our thoughts as the Louisville Rotary Club are with you and yours during this trying time, but never lose sight that the human spirit is resilient in times like these. And as Mr. Rogers always said, in times of great crisis, look for the helpers, but that's not my invocation. So with that in mind, I look for a solid invocation that combines both a service to others, Rotary, philanthropy, and that other famed C word. No, it's not cancer, but it's capitalism. And so I came upon the words of the famed capitalist and philanthropist John D. Rockefeller, who said, "I believe the power to make money is a gift from God, to be developed and used to the best of our ability for the good of mankind. As we gather today, let us reflect on the power of our own skills, talents, and resources, not only as a means of personal success, but as tools to improve the lives of others. Let us strive to use our gifts wisely, ethically, and generously, so that our success is shared and multiplied in service to our communities and the world." Godspeed to today's speaker and all my fellow Rotarians and Americans that are possibly directly impacted by the latest 2024 hurricane season. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test is Joyce Seymour, recipient of the Lifetime Service Award in 2013-14, recipient of the Rotary International Service Above Self Award, Paul Harris Society member, and Paul Harris Fellow +1.
Rotarians and guests, the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Now I direct all your eyes to the following. The four-way test. Most of you always know, I always say, know this, but close your eyes and see if you can. Here we go. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Goodwill and better friendships will be beneficial to all concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. And I think I left one thing off when I was introducing you, and that is that you are having a birthday tomorrow. So let's say happy birthday to Joyce. Woo! And Fred Cowan as well. Happy birthday, Fred. So you all are birthday twins. That's great. So this is the time now when we ask Rotarians who have guests, if you will please come to the microphone to my right and to your left. If you will please introduce yourself first, then introduce your guest, giving their title, any affiliation that they might have with you or with an organization. And guests, when you hear your name called, if you will please stand just briefly so that we can get a look at you. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Kent Whalen, co-owner of Whalen Ventures, and my guests today are Russ Wardlaw, CEO of InsuraMax, and his partner, Eric Harden, also of InsuraMax. Welcome.
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 Now, the leaders in the pledge and the four-way test is Joyce Seymour, recipient of the Lifetime Service Award in 2013-14, recipient of the Rotary International Service Above Self Award, Paul Harris Fellow +1.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Leslie Smart, CEO of Louisville Ballet, and my guest today is Katrina Sellers, who is an advancement coordinator with the Louisville Ballet and a former dancer for 18 years.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm John Cunningham with UBS Financial Services. I have three guests today. I have Lindsay Miller, former Human Resources Director at General Electric, now with Zio and Campisano Properties, and just happens to be the mother of our featured speaker today.
Welcome.
Alex Deljoux, who just moved back from Atlanta, who's joining his father in New Novine Capital.
Welcome.
And last but not least is my daughter Leanne Cunningham, who is a graduate of Rice University, master's degree from Duke, and was with BlackRock in Princeton, New Jersey for 3 years, and I convinced her to come back home and work with Dad.
Love it. And future Rotarian, welcome.
Good morning, fellow Rotarians. My name is Claire Arnold. I serve as Director of Programming for the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. My guest today is Razia Mahinovic. She is a 2023-2024 Global Rotary Scholar who finished her degree in food sustainability, and we are delighted to have her. Upon returning to Louisville, she is now working as the manager for Food Corps for Kentucky, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Welcome.
President Lori and fellow Rotarians, good afternoon. I'm Kevin Fields, CEO at Louisville Central Community Center, and proud to be Secretary of the Club's Board of Directors. Excited about introducing my guest today, who's sitting over here behind me, if you don't mind standing up. Jordan Debke. He is a founder of Huba Health, and many of you may be familiar with his work as being a founder of the Green District here in Louisville. Jordan.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. My name is Vinay Palipali with HMB Professional Engineers. I'm the Louisville market leader for our company. And today I have a special guest, Jenny Johnston. She's the Executive Vice President of PRG Commercial Advisors. Welcome her.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Matt Riddle, Senior Vice President for LPX Group. I have two guests with me today. First is Hunter Strickler. He is the President of LPX Group. And second is John Lynch. He is the Vice President of Construction for Louisville Paving and Construction Company.
Welcome to you both. So thank you, Rotarians. You can tell we had a lot of guests today and a lot of stellar guests today. So thank you so much for bringing your guests, and thank you guys for being here. At the end of the meeting, you'll know it's the end of the meeting because I'll ring the bell again. And guess when you hear that, if you have just a couple of minutes, we have a table over here in the corner that has a What is Rotary sign on it. If you could spend just a few minutes at the end of this meeting, is Craig Sherman here with us today? Yes. This gentleman right there will be hosting a quick session on what is Rotary for our guests. Thank you. Okay, we want to encourage as much time as possible for questions today. So I want you to look at your Sparks. Delene and Kim basically are not on the scene because they are representing us at the large club conference that's being held in Memphis right now. But she did spend last night the night before putting together Sparks for you to make sure that you would have it before this meeting. Everything that you need to know about what's going on right now is included in Sparks, and you'll notice that we have kind of erred on the side of putting things in there, having a summary at the top, and so that you can have kind of at a glance, and then having some things where you can click on links if you want more information about something. So if you will take the time to look at that, that will save a little time in the meetings from me having to announce things. With that said, I have two things I do want to announce. One of them is that the Social Activities Committee, which has been very active, and I thank Chair Underwood for doing that, they are having a happy hour at the patio of Hop Atomica at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th. So if you want to kind of come get to know your fellow Rotarians in a little bit more of an informal environment, please consider going to that October 16th Rotary Happy Hour. Also, please consider donating blood, or if you can't do that, some people can't, volunteering at one of our Interact Club blood drives. If you were at the meeting a couple of weeks ago, you saw where we had our Interact members really pushing for the blood drive. This is a big initiative that they have, and they would be so honored if you would either volunteer or donate. The days that they have are October 15th and October 31st. There are flyers on your table, and there's also, I think, a flyer or two out where Tracy helps welcome people into the club. If you're interested in that. So now, I would like to invite to the podium Rick Harnett. Rick is a current Assistant District Governor. He's Chair of the District International Service Committee. He's a recipient of the Lifetime Service Award. He's a recipient of the Rotary International Service Above Self Award. He's Vice Chair of the Interact Rotaract Committee. He's Vice Chair of the Youth and Education Committee. He's a member of the Paul Harris Society and is a major donor. Rick, will you please come introduce our District Governor?
Thank you so much, President Laurie. It's a real pleasure for me to introduce our District Governor this year, Dale Leatherman of the Rotary Club of Hopkinsville, which happens to be my hometown and a place that I know very well and know some of the challenges involved in representing Hopkinsville. Dale is originally from northeastern Ohio, a graduate of Ohio State, but has had a considerable career in the corporate sector, doing a lot of work in his earlier years until in 2006, he decided to make a transition into working in higher education. So he got an Doctor of Education degree from Southern Baptist Seminary here in town and went to work at several different colleges. He joined Rotary in 2006 in Arkansas, but then in 2019 saw an opportunity to come to Kentucky, coming in a way back home because a lot of his relatives were from our state, and introducing his wife to smaller town life to see what it's about. But he's done a great job. He was president of his club in Arkansas twice, served as head of the RLI, Rotary Leadership Institute program there, and now is our district governor, helping us all do more. Governor Dale.
Thank you, Rick, for those kind comments. I had such a lovely evening last night with Rick and Mary Ellen, and they hosted me, and we got to enjoy some of your cuisine here in town, and I appreciate their hospitality with that. So good to be here with you today. I've heard so many good things about your club, and I've never been to your club meeting, so it's great to be here. I feel like I'm here with friends, because I've worked with so many of you through the years at Rotary and my real work, and so I'm very, very glad to be here. There is a lot going on in Rotary International in our district. There's some great things going on in your club, so I'm so encouraged. We had a good board meeting before this meeting where I was able to hear in some more detail the good things that you're doing. So thank you for the service that you are performing here in your community. In our district, I am very excited about what's going on. In the last 2 weeks, I was informed that we were going to start 3 new Interact chapters throughout the state. And for those of you that are visitors, just to give you an idea what our district is, we have 53 clubs. We go from north of Louisville down south all the way to the Mississippi. So we're spread out pretty well. But we've got 3 new Interact clubs. We've got just announcement of a new Rotaract club that's starting. I believe your club is working on a Rotaract club. There's 3 other clubs working on starting Rotaract clubs as well. And I'm pumped because Dorsey and I both had the opportunity to go to RILA
RYLA camp last weekend, and RYLA stands for Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, and then students are sponsored to go to a camp, and we actually select students that aren't necessarily the leaders currently in their school, generally sophomores, but those students that could be leaders with a little bit of encouragement. And it's amazing to see the transformation in some of these young people. Your club sent, I believe, a couple students to RYLA, so thank you for sponsoring them. We appreciate that. I'm looking forward to hearing our speaker today, so I'm going to move fast. So I'm going to show some slides, but don't worry, I'm going to keep it moving. And I've already told Lori to give me the hook if I start going too long here. All right. I don't. Do you have any? That looks more like I plan to share today. Help with that. I know. First of all, I want to bring you greetings from our Rotary International President, Stephanie Urchik. And Stephanie was just with us, with Dorsey and I, and a few of us in the district had the opportunity to spend time with her down in Alabama a few weeks ago at the Rotary Zone 30 and 31 conference. And does anybody know where Stephanie resides? What state? Pennsylvania, yeah. So she's from Pennsylvania. So for those of you that are visiting, Rotary International likes to move the presidents around to different countries. So she's from Pennsylvania. It's our year to have a Rotary International president. Very nice lady, super down-to-earth lady. The first time I met her, I was speaking to her for about 20 minutes. She's in international relations and country building, peace building, and I used to be in international business, so we were just talking about some international things. I had no idea that she was going to be the RI president. She never told me that that's how down to earth. So hopefully some of you have already met her, and if not, we'll have that opportunity to meet her. In January at the International Assembly, Stephanie announced the theme for this year. Does anybody know what the Rotary International theme is? Magic of Rotary, yeah, very good. You've probably seen that around here. Well, that was a little surprising to some of us, to myself included, because she was kind of hinting around at some other things that I thought would become the theme, and then she rolled this out. There was a big surprise. But then I thought about it. I thought, you know what? This theme is perfect for Rotary, because Rotary is magical, right? And Rotarians do magical work. For those of you that don't know, Rotary is the first civic organization in the United States. Started in 1905 in Chicago. Today it's one of the largest civic organizations in the world with close to 1.4 million members, including Rotaractors. We're in over 200 countries. In fact, you probably would be hard-pressed to name a country that there's not Rotary in. In fact, some of the countries you might be surprised. So we have Rotary in Ukraine today. We have Rotary in Russia today. We have it in China. And it's really big in India, really big in Japan. So it's everywhere. And so Rotary is making a difference around the world. So I think the magic of Rotary is a perfect theme for this year. Stephanie also announced where our Rotary International Convention will be this Rotary year, and hopefully some of you have already registered for it. It's going to be in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and a beautiful place. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures of it. I am planning to go and register, and it's pretty close to go. The last conference a couple months ago we were in Singapore. Lori was in Singapore. I was in Singapore. Probably Rick was in Singapore. I know a few others were. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a lot closer drive than it was to get to Singapore. So I hope you consider going to it. Rotary has quite an exciting program put together for us, and we've already got 16 members in our district signed up, and so we're hoping to have a lot more, and hopefully some of you will have that opportunity to go as well. I also would like to bring you greetings from our zone director, Beth Stubbs. Now, as mentioned before, we're part of District 6710, and we roll up to Zone 30. Beth Stubbs is our zone director. She's over Zone 30 and over Zone 31. Beth is also a member of the Rotary Board of International and was just nominated as the treasurer. And so Beth was actually here in Kentucky about, I don't know, was it a month and a half ago, Dorsey, something like that? She came to Florence, Kentucky, pretty close to here, and kind of shared her vision for the zone, but her vision for Rotary as well, now that she's the treasurer. So I wanted to bring greetings to you from her. Very, very smart lady, actually. I also wanted to congratulate you for the work that you're doing with the annual fund. And Lori, could I ask you to come up? And a big part of what we do at Rotary is to help the world is through our foundation. And we have kind of a goal in our district to be a Star Club. In order to receive the Star Club award, the club has to give over $100 per member on average for the club, and Louisville has given $159 per member this year. So you're way over. So thank you. This is the star. I want to give that to Lori to put on your flag or wherever you put your star, so thank you for that. Hey, but don't sit down quite, Lori. I just got this. This is hot off the press from Rotary International, and Rotary International's foundation is presenting to the Rotary Club of Louisville a certificate. It's presented a certificate of appreciation for its financial support of End Polio Now, Countdown to History campaign. Together we fulfill our promise to the children of the world and eradicate polio. Congratulations to the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm saying Louisville, yeah. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to move ahead. And in this slide, I've got a picture of a famous building that's in a famous country and a famous city. Anybody know what city this happens to be? Istanbul, yeah. And Istanbul is in what country? Turkey, very good. And what did Istanbul used to be called? Constantinople? Yeah, I can't say that word, but that's where it was to be. So, very famous city. And we know that the head of the Roman Empire, of course, first was Rome, and then it moved to this city, which we now call Istanbul. So why in the world do I show you this picture? It's because I wanted to inform you, Fred probably has already, right, that the International Peace Conference for this year, Stephanie has announced, is going to be in Istanbul. And so I wanted to share that with you. It's going to be in February. So if you're interested in peace building or country relations, you might want to consider hopping over to the conference there. So you can go to Istanbul, come back, take a little break, and then go to Calgary with us. So I wanted to let you know about that. I also quickly want to talk about the second reason that I showed that picture, is Rotary has what they call peace centers. I'm sure most of you are aware of that, but for those of you that are guests, those are centers that work with colleges around the world to train people in building peace and country relations. We have 6 right now. The most recent one was opened in Kampala, Uganda. So we're getting ready to open the 7th. Any ideas where that might be? Istanbul, yeah. So Stephanie will inaugurate our 7th Peace Center in Istanbul during the International Peace Conference in February. So I just wanted to share that with you. I would love for us to see us sending some people to attend one of the Peace Centers. Rotary will sponsor up to 130 scholarships, or they call fellowships, to attend one of these Peace Centers. Very competitive, but I'm sure here you have lots of people that are interested in peace building and country relations. And I was talking to Rick last night about the last time we were able to send somebody. I think it's been a little while before we were able to send somebody to participate. But I would love it if you know somebody that is interested in that. Encourage them to apply to be considered. Again, it's very competitive, but it would be great to have somebody from our own district there. A couple of slides left, and then we're going to finish up here. But one of the things that we do at Rotary is work to create lasting change. And some of you may not realize, but Rotary has been the main impetus in eradicating polio around the world. And this is a picture here. I don't know, some of you may not be able to see it, but on the left, there's some young people that are walking with crutches. And on the right, there's a young boy that's walking on all fours. And the reason is they contracted polio. Now, this picture is a few years old. This is something that we haven't seen in the likes of America for years. But that's what that is. This is sensitive to me because after I graduated from college, before going into the business sector, I decided I wanted to go serve at a nonprofit. So I went just for a summer. I ended up in Uganda, East Africa. And when I was there, I would see people that would sit on the ground, and they would put their legs up over their chest somehow, and they would have these old dress shoes, kind of like business shoes. And they'd put one hand in one shoe, one hand in the other shoe, and they would scoot. I said, what is this? This was in 1985, no internet. Never heard of such a thing. Never saw such a thing. There was a lot of them. And so I said, what is going on? And they said, these people contracted polio. And if they want to get around town, they have to scoot. And scoot is what they did. And so in 1985, it happened to be the year that I was there, happened to be the year that Rotary announced that they were going to work to completely eradicate polio. And that's when they started the Polio Plus program. You've probably heard of that. Well, I'm excited to tell you now that 99.9% of the world's population is polio-free. And because of that. And that's thanks to you, people in your club, and Rotarians around the world that have given to eradicate polio, and others that have partnered with us in this. As far as we know, there's only 2 countries left that have the wild polio virus. Anybody know what those 2 are? Pakistan and Afghanistan, yeah. And we're working really hard to finish the job, right? We have to finish the job. And it's very dangerous over there. It's a mountainous region, and we do have people that are trying to take the vaccine to the children up in this mountainous region. Men can't do it. It's too dangerous. But women can do it. It's also very dangerous for women. But we've got some very brave women in Rotary. They're going up in these mountains, risking their lives. Literally, we've had people killed for bringing these vaccinations, risking their lives to help these children and finish the job. So that's what we're working to. So don't give up. We're hoping that we'll finish the job here in a couple of years, God willing. And if we do, it'll be only the second time in history where a disease has been eradicated. So that'll be big news. So thank you for your support of the polio program. I also wanted to invite you to the next district conference. I really enjoyed the conference here. And I know I'm saying Louisville wrong, so I'm sorry about that. Louisville, right? Something like that. I enjoyed it here. Well, we're having it on the other side of the state, this Rotary year in Hopkinsville at the beautiful Bruce Convention Center. I'd like to invite all of you there. We'd love for you to come. The committee is already working on some unique and creative ideas for the conference, and there's a hotel right beside there, brand new Holiday Inn and Suites that we're partnering with as well. So I encourage you to come and visit us in Hopkinsville if you can. That will be in May 16th and 17th. Every year, the district governor in our district, which is 6710, has the ability to create a one-year award for our clubs. Now, we have a number of awards that clubs can compete for recognition for the end of the year. Last year, Tommy Reed, who was our immediate past district governor, created an award for last year having to do with hope and surrounding mental health. Well, this year, our theme is around the magic of Rotary, and so I've created the award called the Magic of Rotary Award for Foster Care and Orphans. And the awards for clubs who demonstrate extraordinary ways that they're supporting foster care children, orphans, or their guardians during this Rotary year, 24-25. And the award will be given to the club during the district conference. We're told that there's approximately 400,000 children in foster care in America. Many of them are in really good foster care families. Maybe some of you are foster care parents. There's we're told over 100,000 right now that are ready for adoption, but there's just not people that can or are willing to adopt. Overseas, this is hard to believe, but there's millions of orphans overseas. Depending on what you read, it'll say anything anywhere from 57 million to 150 million. Hard to even believe that could be true. But that's coming from UNICEF and some of these other places. Rotary cannot solve this problem totally, but we can solve it for a couple, I hope. And I hope that we can do it for a couple here in Kentucky. And so that's my goal. So if you have time just to start a small project to help some foster children or orphans here in the state of Kentucky or globally, I hope you do. My last slide. I wish we had more time. If we had more time and I could meet and talk with each one of you, I'd ask you, why did you join Rotary? And I'm sure I would get many different reasons. Networking, socializing probably, even the food probably is a good reason to come. But I'm convinced that 100% of you joined Rotary because you want to make a difference in your community, make a difference in the lives of people. Your club's making a difference in the lives of people here in Louisville. Thank you for your service that you've done. Thank you for the commitment and the impact that you're making on people in this town, in this city. We appreciate it. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes to be with you today, too.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for your kind remarks. Thank you for being here. I want to also thank Dorsey Ridley, who is the governor-elect, and he'll be visiting with us next year. We look forward to that as well. I love getting swag, and so I thank the entire club for putting us in the position where we can have our governor bring us the awards and the stars. So thank you all so much for everything you do. It's just good all around. Okay, now I would like to introduce today's subject matter speaker. As a seasoned real estate developer and investor originally from Louisville, Nick Campisano is passionate about helping smaller cities grow by directing private equity into community opportunities. He's a graduate of St. Xavier, or St. X High School. We talk about high schools here a lot. Duke University. Sometimes we don't talk about that. Where he earned a bachelor's in public policy and economics and a master's in business management. For the past 15 years, Nick has been based in New York, working in investment banking and building his company, Zio, which he founded in 2016. Zio is a vertically integrated real estate entity focused on developing high-quality hotels and impactful mixed-use and multifamily properties in Louisville, and mostly in the central part of Louisville. Starting with the Residence Inn Old Henry off of I-265 and the Gateway development in New Lou, Nick has expanded the company's portfolio to a $400 million valuation. At the start of 2025, Zio will be opening the Canopy Hotel, which will have 168 guest rooms, 4 food and beverage venues spread over 18,000 square feet, and and a rooftop pool which will overlook Whiskey Row. I'm looking forward to that. Other notable projects nearing completion include Kevin Granger's Sake A Go-Go restaurant at 620 East Market and Whiskey Thief Distilling Company around the corner from that. The largest project currently in the pipeline is Millview Crossing, a full block development housing 525 apartments and 100,000 square feet of commercial space of that mixed-use idea expected to break ground next spring. Zio recently made headlines for the announcement of 140 West, a 27-story, 5-star luxury hotel across from the convention center at the corner of 2nd and Market Street. Nick graciously looks forward to presenting to us today at our Rotary Club about his passionate endeavors to grow Louisville's urban core and its competitive advantages over other rising cities. Nick?
Good afternoon, everybody. I think I'd like to start by talking about what a dream it was to grow up in Louisville. I was on the diving team, I was on the ice hockey team, and I even had the opportunity to race motocross. Where else do you get the opportunity to do such diverse activities? I had a wonderful education, I got to travel, I had a wonderful family, and it was the childhood that one would only dream of. When I would travel, I noticed that not enough people that I met knew about Louisville or had visited Louisville or had intentions to go. And so in the back of my mind, even when I was younger, I knew that I wanted to change that, however I could. Another childhood dream of mine was to work in a much larger city, whether it was New York or Chicago or maybe over in Europe. I always aspired, whether it was consciously or unconsciously, to work along skyscrapers, to wear white-collared shirts, and to do kind of the fancy things that I had seen in the movies. After undergraduate in business school, I moved to New York City, and I had a dream investment banking job for about 8 years. Now, I call it a dream because I absolutely loved the day-to-day. If you know any investment bankers, they think that the day-to-day is almost cruel, you work so hard. But while I was learning these trades, all I could think about was Louisville. And I could think about these billions of dollars that were making their way around the world, and how could I direct even a small portion of that to Louisville, and what impact would $1 billion have on downtown Louisville? What impact would several $100 million have on a neighborhood within Louisville? And why was it that after all of these years, Louisville was growing in a linear fashion, but competing cities like Nashville and Columbus and Charles had experienced these breakout moments? So towards the end of my investment banking career, I started to study these other cities. And I was thinking, what was it that got them from a linear growth strategy to exponential? What I realized is the city made a decision to take on more risk. And so that brings me to my next topic, which is that taking on risk in a city's development plan is actually the least risky thing that you can do. The most risky thing that you can do is stay the same. And so if you have hotels of a certain type, the strategy should not be to just develop more of that type of hotel. If you have apartments of a certain type, the strategy should not be to just develop more of those types of apartments. You have to continue to raise the bar. Now, some people say, keep Louisville weird, keep Louisville how it's been, we love Louisville, don't come in and change Louisville. And what I'd like to say is that for every growth part of the economy, there's a net shrinkage. And I'm the son of a wonderful collection of parents, one on the entrepreneurial side, another on the corporate side. And as I've looked at the impacts of their businesses over my life, there's been decades when one part was growing and the other part was shrinking and vice versa. So it's really important that for Louisville, that has such beautiful real estate as is, that it continues to grow its most valuable asset. And I believe that that is the safest thing that Louisville can do to preserve what we already have. And I believe that the best way that we should grow is not by replicating what we already have, but by taking on even more risk and delivering at a higher level. So that's the executive summary in case we run out of time. So how do we do that? Zio focuses on that middle pillar of investments, which comes from private equity firms and from family offices. And so you might hear about a new hotel popping up. You might hear about another new development. And so people might say, why would we need more hotels? But the truth is that the investment community in New York City and in Miami and in Chicago, they get FOMO. So you'll have one investment group that will jump into a specific category, and they'll tell their friends, and all of a sudden their friends will jump in. And that's how you get that level of exponential growth. Now, you guys are all successful business participants and businessmen and women. And so I imagine people hit you up for investments, and they want to meet at Heine Brothers, and they want to tell you about their next venture. Well, that is a fixed pie. And so if we are only raising capital from within Louisville, then unfortunately that's not even 5% of what we need to truly grow. And so, for about a year, I did exactly that, and anyone that would introduce me to anyone, I'd meet them for coffee, and I'd raise whatever I could, but it almost felt like you were asking for a donation. The investment groups that I work with, I am an asset to them, because they want to find new opportunities. Their job is to invest, and so they're calling me instead of me just completely annoying someone saying, hey, could you invest, could you invest, could you invest? So we focus on that middle pillar of investments, and then what's beautiful about that is if I can get enough attention in the private equity space and in the family office space, they make their way to the public markets, which is the REIT market. And so if REITs start to buy out the investors that I'm bringing in, it creates a ripple effect that creates that breakout event that you'll see in Charleston, that you see in Nashville, et cetera. So in summary, that's what Zio does. We do a lot of different things, but we focus on that middle pillar. It all started at the Old Henry exit off I-265. You might remember that this was farmland. It was owned by the Archdiocese at one point. Kevin Cogan purchased it. He sold certain parts to David Peterson. And hoteliers locally were interested. They thought, there's hotels at 22, there's hotels at Westport Road, there's hotels at Shelbyville Road, but no one really wanted to take on the risk to put a hotel in what was the middle of a cornfield with a Mercedes-Benz dealership. Fortunately, I was optimistic enough to choose this project. I could talk about it for a long time, but it was a wild success, and that gave me a little bit of confidence to continue to move the ball. I headed to the Gateway of Nulu, which has been a wonderful experience, and it's a 75,000 square foot office building in Nulu. Historic rehab was a tremendous amount of work, but I met so many other Louisvillians that saw the same way that I did, so I knew I wasn't delusional or crazy. I then started to study Louisville as a whole, and I was like, hey guys, we have way too much space. Louisville is huge in the downtown area for a 1.4 million person population, and I need to focus on a specific area. So I started to decide where exactly I wanted that to be. You can see in the top right, there's the new soccer stadium in gray. You can see the Louisville Slugger field also in gray on the left, and the green developments are the ones that are currently in our Nulu portfolio. And there's synergies from controlling the neighbors. You never want to own the most expensive house on the block. I don't know if I've managed to maintain that role, but you do want to make sure that there's a level of synonymous quality among an entire area. And if Louisville needs density to expand, then you basically have to draw a halo around a certain neighborhood and try to create density within, whether it's excessive surface lots that need to be developed or warehouses that need to be converted, etc. This is the portfolio at a glance that I am involved in, and many of these projects I'm doing alone with Zio. Others are joint ventures with groups out of Fargo, North Dakota, or out of Chicago. And it really doesn't matter to me whether I'm in the driver's seat or the passenger seat or maybe even the trunk. What's important to me is that Louisville grows. And there's no shortage of opportunities in Louisville. We can convert office buildings. We can take maybe some of the concrete factories down by the soccer stadium. So I'm trying to create that flow. And if I create that flow and I create that transfer of information, we'll all be successful, myself included. The Canopy Hotel, information available at thecanopyhotel.com, will be opening in 4 months. I'd love to tell you all about it, but we don't have quite enough time to go down that rabbit hole. But what I can tell you is that we are delivering something that is different. We are doing what we set out to do to raise the bar. We're so fortunate to have 21C founded in Louisville, which created a worldwide strategy of independent hotels. We're so fortunate to have Craig Greenberg, who served as CEO for so long, as our current mayor. And we have historic hotels like the Brown and the Seelbach, the Grady. It really is just a wonderful hotel market. When I started to study Hotel Distill, I really started to get confidence. So the combination of Bruce White and Steve Poe did an incredible job with that project, and that's what led me to continue and expand, spread our wings a little bit. This project is a real thing. It seems either too good to be true or too lavish to be true. I can only tell you bits and pieces about it right now, but what I can tell you, when you think about a skyscraper, believe it or not, the cost per hotel room, as we believe right now, for this project is more affordable than the one we're doing across the street. You get those economies of scale. The restaurant in the lobby should do even better because you have more hotel rooms above. And you get the attentions of the higher-ups at Marriott and the likes. So can't tell you too much about it right now except for raise the bar. The riskiest thing Louisville could do is not take on more risk. The riskiest thing that I believe a real estate developer can do is not dream to the point where you look at what made Nashville successful, what made Denver and Austin successful, and try to emulate that strategy in a different market rather than emulate a strategy in a local market. This project is very near and dear to my heart. Construction starts very soon. This is one of those joint ventures where I'm in the back seat. I worked on it for 3 years. I brought on an incredible group that is putting $90 million in the middle of Nulu. The historic Joliet property will be the lobby set in the middle. The new build hotel rooms will wrap around. And so I was like, well, if they're going to put $90 million into one area, where can everyone live? And so I was fortunate enough to be able to take the torch from another developer for the service tanks property that had sat there for about 8 years. And I have a wildly ambitious project planned for that site that hopefully will create that density downtown that we actually need for a true grocery store. It's not really a chicken and the egg. You need the population and then you get the grocery store. You don't get the grocery store and then you get the population. I think that this project can get us over the hump. So then I really started to fall in love with the smaller buildings that surround these larger projects. Sunday school is the Sunday school that was used for the church of the old Episcopal Church at the corner of Clay and Market. And I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to work on this, directly with national tenants. They loved the facade, they loved everything about it. So I thought perhaps I can weave this into our architectural program, and then it serves the surrounding areas. Not only does someone want to live in Nulu because of these amazing apartments and these amazing hotels, but they can go shopping in a place like Sunday school. I picked up the building across the street because I had like-minded individuals that wanted something smaller. I picked up the building next door because I had a user that was saying, hey, I need exactly this, and you don't have that just yet. And so in the idea of following the trends of the neighbors, this property fit very well. So then there's the Billy Goat, which another developer was forward-thinking enough to convert this old printing factory into apartments about 30 years ago. We We completed a renovation. We brought in new commercial tenants. It's performing extremely well. And there's other projects that are very near and dear to my heart that served as excellent learning lessons along the way. So thank you so much. There's 2 videos that will be playing in the background while we do Q&A. But with this, we'd like to turn it over to questions.
All right, thank you, Nick. So if you are a Rotarian and you have questions for Nick, our speaker, please line up behind me. You can ask your questions. Nick, you can stay where you are. Remember that we have guidelines, Rotarians, and you know what they are.
Hi, Nick. My name is Larry Sloan. I'm a retired manufacturer's representative that sold craft and art supplies to chain stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. You talk a lot about Nulu. Yesterday at the Louisville Forum, the new police chief spoke, and I was very impressed, as I think everyone in the room was yesterday, with his focus on downtown and how we can make downtown safer. Part of the problem, it seems like, is people feel like it's not safe downtown.
Right.
So how is that and how is the mayor's office helping to solve that problem to get the downtown revitalized?
Wonderful question, Larry. So, the mayor, when he took leadership, did not inherit a perfectly unionized community. And so he always knew that during the first 24 months, he would need to create a level of peace, and he has knocked it out of the park as far as that is concerned. The homeless population and those that might be mentally ill in the downtown area, that situation is absolutely improving. The security is improving, but Louisville has, in my opinion, a drug problem. And so if we can use our various AI security features, which already go through everyone's, kind of text messages and calls, and try to get some of these drugs off the street, then we'll just be left with the true mentally ill, and we have more than enough programs for the mentally ill. So my personal opinion is we need to deal with the drug supply that is in the community, take those off the streets, and then we'll have sober mentally ill, and I think we can work with that.
Nick Garner, nice to meet you. As you heard earlier, one of the core tenets of Rotary is it beneficial to all concerned? And I was hoping you could speak a little bit to how your company is approaching revitalizing areas without incurring the destructive forces of gentrification.
So gentrification, by definition, means that there is a population that is extracted or forced out of a certain area because the price of living there became too high. And so if you look at the downtown area, whether it is office square footage, warehouse square footage, restaurant square footage, or apartments downtown, there is not a shortage of supply. So let me back into what causes the gentrification, and we can take it from there. Construction costs went up 30% over the past 3 years. Interest costs are up 50% over the past 24 months. If developers want to do a project, then they have to recoup their costs. They don't have some sort of a trust fund that just makes its way into the community. So what developers do best is if they can create a project that breaks even for the first 5 years, and then for the next 5 years generates a profit. So in my opinion, Louisville is a very affordable place to live. There's different areas that are affordable. You can't guarantee that an apartment building, which hasn't been renovated in 40 years and then gets renovated, will not have higher rents. That is just an amortization of the renovation budget. So I think that if a neighborhood does become nicer, it is going to become more expensive. But keep in mind that as a neighborhood becomes nicer, it also becomes safer. It also creates more property taxes. It also creates more revenue for the public schools. So, I think that if you look at certain areas of Nashville or certain areas of Denver, they've had a terrible gentrification problem. In my opinion, the gentrification problem that Louisville has had is that everyone wanted to move out of the downtown voluntarily. They wanted to work outside of the downtown voluntarily. And so what that did is that created downward pressure on some of the economics. The restaurants weren't as full. The parking garages weren't as full. And so we really need that private sector to stimulate. Now, the low-income housing market is just incredibly successful in Louisville. The things that LDG is doing, they're about to, provide about 5,000 new apartment units in the downtown alone. And so, that's a federal program, and it's working out very well, and it should offset any sort of increase in price that is incurred in the private sector. Thanks, Nick.
Nick, is John Cunningham. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
In your presentation, you mentioned Museum 21C,
right,
which was really the first boutique hotel in the city. How did that impact your confidence for developing downtown hospitality?
Very good question. So after prom in 2005, I actually stayed at the 21C, and I'll never forget. Really wonderful property, and I kept up with it. And it went from Cincinnati to Lexington to Durham, North Carolina, where I was at university, Bentonville, Arkansas, Birmingham, Kansas City, Oklahoma City. 21C is unbelievable, okay? But what it did is when they ultimately decided to sell the brand to Accor, which is French, it caused for really rich French people to discover Louisville. When you look at Pernod Ricard acquiring Rabbit Hole and Alex Ricard and all those guys that are coming to Louisville now on the regular, they're going to a geography that otherwise they wouldn't have gone to. And so, Mayor Greenberg was a perfect diplomat to go out and tell everyone within the hospitality community about Louisville. Specifically on the economics, 21C and Proof broke all the records from 2008 to 2016 for average check spend on the food and beverage side and average daily rate on the hotel side. 21C is also only 91 rooms, and so occupancy was always very high because it was almost always sold out. So it made the data look really good. It caused for people that wouldn't have discovered Louisville yet to discover it, and it also made a lot of introductions to investors. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'll be around afterwards for questions.
Thank you, Nick. So earlier in my career, I was in the Economic Development Cabinet, and I would have given my eye teeth if I could have about 100 of you come back to Louisville after you leave for a while. It's very, very exciting to see the work you're doing, and, you're making things more economically viable, and you're making them more beautiful, and you're making a sense of place for Louisville. We already have that, but the work that you and your team are doing are just enhancing it. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, everybody, so guests, don't forget, what is Rotary Table with Craig Sherman for just a few minutes when I ring the bell. I also want to thank our audio and visual support today. Very, very appreciative of everything you all did to help us run our meeting, so thank you. Next week we have a speaker who is always popular. It is Eric Gregory, who is with the Kentucky Distillers Association. I had a bunch of board members of my own trying to vie to be my guests next week, so we'll see who won. So if you are interested in doing that, remember you need to register before noon on Monday. You can also do the QR code over here to my left, and I think we're going to bed.